What's going on, Mavs fans? Welcome into NBA Now from Chat Sports. I am your host, Jimmy Crowther, breaking down all the latest news and rumors going around Mavs Nation. Hey, it's a great time to be a Mavs fan. They're 4th seed in the West right now. They're winning games. They've got a game tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves, which we'll get into. But let's start out with some trade rumors first. This first one about Andre Iguodala. Now, I haven't talked to you guys since last week, and that's when this latest report came out from Brian Windhorst. He's saying that NBA execs are thinking the Mavs are in a good position to trade for the former Finals MVP and current Memphis Grizzly. Now, we all know Iggy got traded to the Grizzlies this summer from the Golden State Warriors. That's probably not going to last. He'll never ever play a game for the Memphis Grizzlies, that is. I don't know where he's going to get traded, but Windhorst is saying the Mavs have a chance to do it. Now, the last time he played for the Warriors, he averaged 5.7 points per game, 3.2 assists, 3.7 rebounds, and 33.3% from beyond the three-point arc. Now, we all know the things that Iggy does well do not always show up in the box score. He's an athlete. He's a great defender. The box score doesn't always tell the full story, but if the Mavs were to pick him up, here's what a starting five could look like with him in the picture. You get Luka Doncic at your point guard position with Tim Hardaway Jr. starting at the 2, because at this point, you can't really put him off the bench because he hasn't been as effective off the bench. Then you go Iggy at the 3. He will always guard the best player on the other team if they're a wing. And then you go Kristaps, Porzingis, and Dwight Powell. Now, look, I would rather have Maxi Kleber in there at the starting center position, but that's just not going to happen. Rick Carlisle won't do it. He's sticking with Dwight Powell at the starting center. And, it's winning. The Mavs are still winning games. Now, for the Mavericks, this is their wing depth as of right now. They've got Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Jackson, Courtney Lee, and Ryan Broekhoff. Now, Courtney Lee and Ryan Broekhoff, they don't really play a lot of minutes. They're really not even in the depth chart at all. But Dorian Finney-Smith, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Justin Jackson have been looking really, really good. So I guess the only concern I have with bringing in Andre Iguodala is what happens to these three guys? Are they just completely pushed out of the rotation, or how does it work? Now, this is the trade that I think people have kicked around that kind of think this could happen if the Mavs want to pull it off. It's just straight up the Mavs get Iguodala from the Grizzlies, and then Memphis gets Courtney Lee and a couple second-round picks. Now, maybe it's the Golden State second-round pick, maybe it's Utah's second-round pick, and a later pick somewhere down the road. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, and I'm not really sure if Memphis bites on it. But I think it's interesting, and I think if you can get a proven veteran like Iguodala, the Mavs should swing for it, especially if it means you're just giving up second-round picks and Courtney Lee. But let me ask you guys, do you want Dallas to make a trade this season, or do you just want to see them keep the team together? I mean, they've got the best offense in the league right now. They're winning games. They're 4th seed in the West. If this keeps trending, there might not be a reason to make a trade unless something crazy comes along. But let me know in the comment section below. Do you want to see Dallas keep it together, or do you want to see them make a deal and go get someone like an Andre Iguodala? Now, look, I know that we have a huge Mavs following here on Chat Sports, and right now we're only able to put out 1 or 2 Mavs videos a week because we don't have a big enough following. And if we can get more subscribers that are Mavs fans for life, we can get more Mavs videos just like this one going more than just once or twice a week. You'll see me on here talking about our Mavs more often. So all you got to do is hit that subscribe button and then blow up the comment section. Let us know if you want to see some more Mavs videos like this one. Now, let's get into some more rumors here. This was from Fadeaway World. They put out the top 5 trade targets for the Dallas Mavericks this season. So this isn't the most likely players that they're going to target. This is who they should target, and this was Fadeaway World's top 5. Chris Paul, number 1 of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Goran Dragic of the Miami Heat was number 2. Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers. LaMarcus Aldridge from the Spurs. And, of course, Blake Griffin right now with the Detroit Pistons. Now, look, on this show, we've already talked about Chris Paul before. We've talked about Kevin Love. We've talked about Blake Griffin. But 2 other guys that we haven't talked about that I want to go more in depth to are Goran Dragic and LaMarcus Aldridge. So let's start with Dragic. Of course, played on the Slovenian national team with Luka Doncic. He's great buddies with him. We all thought the Mavs were going to get Goran Dragic this summer, and then that whole weird deal blew up with Derrick Jones Jr. and Kelly Olynyk, and nobody ended up getting traded anywhere. It was just such a weird ordeal. Now, Dragic is playing great for the Heat. He's coming off the bench right now as a backup point guard. He's been really, really good this season. 15.9 points per game, 5 assists, 3.2 rebounds. But perhaps the most impressive and most helpful thing that Dragic is doing for the Miami Heat is shooting the 3 ball at 40.6%. It's been a great shooting year for Dragic, especially proving that, hey, he's a veteran, but he's willing to accept the role coming off the bench behind a guy like Kendrick Nunn, behind guys like Tyler Hero, and doing all the right things for the Miami Heat. Now, here's the trade that Fadeaway World proposed for Goran Dragic. Straight up, you send Tim Hardaway Jr. and a first-round pick to the Heat for Dragic. Now, the Mavs do have their first-round pick this year. It'll probably be in the late 20s, maybe mid to late 20s based on how they're playing right now. And, I don't know if this moves the needle for the Heat because Dragic, like I said, has been really, really good off the bench. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a great player. Obviously, he's proving himself to be a good starter, and he's younger, but he's making a lot of money. And that first-round pick doesn't really move the needle for you. You're not going to get a transcendent talent in the 20s of the first round. So I think Miami says no to this, but if you're Dallas, I think it does make some sense as well. But would you want to see Dragic in a Dallas Maverick uniform? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I would say yes for the right price. I'm not 100% sold on giving up Tim Hardaway Jr. and a first right now just because Tim Hardaway Jr. is playing really well. That first round pick's going to be valuable. And Dragic is, he's getting older and he's pretty injury prone. But I do like the idea of another playmaker next to Luka Doncic. Speaking of good players, let's talk about LaMarcus Aldridge. This is another guy that Fadeaway World says, hey, this can make some sense for the Dallas Mavericks. He's, of course, playing with the San Antonio Spurs right now, who are just really, really struggling. I know you can never count out Greg Popovich and the Spurs, but this is not the same old Spurs team. LaMarcus Aldridge, however, is playing really well. He's putting up 18.9 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, and 51.7% from the field. Now, another good thing that's really helped out the Spurs when they're trying to win games is he's shooting the three ball at a pretty efficient rate, 35.5% from beyond the three-point arc. Again, Fadeaway World pitched another trade idea for this one. I don't really think this makes any sense for the Spurs. You go Tim Hardaway Jr. and Isaiah Roby, along with a few first-round and second-round picks for LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, here's the deal. I know the Spurs aren't winning games, but they're not just going to give away their second or best player, depending on how you view DeMar DeRozan. Tim Hardaway Jr., again, a nice piece. There's no reason the Spurs need Tim Hardaway Jr. alongside DeMar DeRozan. Isaiah Roby was the 47th overall pick in the draft. Or 45th, excuse me. I get it. He's a young player. He's someone that can help you develop, but he's not winning you any basketball games right now. And then the first round pick and the second round pick, look, the first round, again, late 20s, that's not going to do much for you. The early second round pick, that's a nice pick, but again, it's the second round. This isn't helping you rebuild. This isn't helping you get to a championship spot in the Western Conference, and the Spurs are just giving up LaMarcus Aldridge. For the Mavs, great. Go get LaMarcus Aldridge, even though he's 34 years old. It makes some sense. This isn't going to move the needle if you're the San Antonio Spurs. But here's the big question, I think. What position should Dallas make a move for, if they should make a move at all? Type G for guard, type B for big, or type W for wing. Now, this is going to be our pinned comment on this video, and if you're watching on YouTube right now, you might get hit with an ad break. So all you're going to do is scroll down, go reply to that pinned comment, tell me if you'd rather see Dallas trade for a guard, a big, or a wing. Now, look, the Mavs tonight are going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're going for their fourth straight win. Of course, Dallas has been on absolute fire this year. I mean, they're outpacing their win projection already. They're at 14 wins, looking to get their 15th against the Minnesota Timberwolves, with Luka Doncic playing at an MVP level. Kristaps Porzingis is playing well on the defensive end. He's still shaking off some of the rust on the offensive end, but he'll get there. Don't you guys worry. Now, their opponent, of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves, look, they started pretty hot. They looked like one of the better teams in the Western Conference, with Karl-Anthony Towns playing at a high level and Andrew Wiggins playing really well also. But, now they're just kind of falling off a little bit. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and it's not looking as promising for the Timberwolves. Now, here's who I project to be the starting five for Minnesota when they travel to Dallas and get the Mavs on the second night of a back-to-back. Jarrett Culver's sliding in at the point guard position. Jeff Teague is out now, out of the starting five at least. He's still playing some pretty solid minutes, but I'm a big fan, a big believer in Jarrett Culver of Texas Tech, coming in and starting at that point guard position. Then you got at the shooting guard position, Travion Graham. And then, of course, Robert Covington is a great defensive forward for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then the two big names, Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns. Let's focus in here on Andrew Wiggins. He's honestly putting up numbers that everyone expected him to put up when he was a first-round pick just a few years ago by the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, traded for Kevin Love. This is really a breakout year for him. Most people would argue he's an all-star in the West as of right now. Here's his numbers so far this year: 24.8 points per game, 3.5 assists, 5.4 rebounds, and 34.3% from three. He's really getting it done from all over the court. The only problem he's had this year is making his free throws at a consistent rate. But I'll be honest, I'm not that worried about Wiggins killing the Mavs tonight because they've got some solid perimeter defense in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dorian Finney-Smith. The guy that I am worried about is Karl Anthony Towns. Look, if the Timberwolves could win a few more games, I genuinely believe Karl Anthony Towns would be in the MVP conversation because he is just that dominant of a big man on a consistent basis. These are his numbers so far for the T-Wolves: 25.9 points per game, 12.5 rebounds, 4 assists per game. He's creating for his teammates really well as a big. And here is the most eye-opening number of Karl Anthony Towns' game right now: 42.1% from three. That is wild as a 6'10", 6'11" guy in Karl Anthony Towns. It's not like he's just shooting, one per game. No, he's stepping out beyond the three-point arc and making multiple per game at a high rate. So that's going to be something to watch tonight. Does Maxi Kleber get the defensive assignment on him? Does Porzingis guard him? If he does, is he going to be able to hold his weight down low? I'm worried about Towns, but I'm still picking the Mavs to win this game as always. Look, I'm almost always going to pick the Mavs depending on the matchup. But who are you picking in this one tonight? Type MIN for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Type DAL for the Dallas Mavericks. Look, I think the Mavs are going to get their 4th straight win tonight, shoot up into the top 3 of the West with a win like that. It's going to be an impressive victory for the Mavs. I'm expecting big things from Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis.